Okay, I've been tinkering around for about 7 minutes trying to get this thing going. Hey everybody, welcome. Sorry about the delay. So today talking about some dogs seem to lack motivation for food, and when working with some clients, one of the first things some will say is, hey, my dog just isn't motivated by food, and one of the things that we as trainers generally say is, well, they are, it's just some are trickier to motivate. I would just put dogs into two categories. One would be very easy to motivate with food, and the other being very, very hard to motivate with food. So I've got some strategies here to help, because food can be a very useful tool to change behaviors, whether it be for just training, behaviors that you want to see more of, or whether you're trying to, if we have behavioral issues like fear and such, trying to change associations, food is useful. So if you have a dog that just isn't all that motivated, let's again say that like they are motivated enough to eat to survive. So like we do have that. If they're not eating enough, and they're losing weight, then that's like a medical thing. So you definitely need to chat with your vet about that. But if you've got a dog that's physically healthy but just isn't like, oh, I don't feel like working for food, there's some strategies in place. So number one, scheduled feedings. A lot of people try scheduled feedings, and what it looks like is they put the bowl down, dog might eat it for a minute or two, and then their dog walks off and it just is left there, and they come back and finish it at a later time. That's very normal. It's like an attempt at a scheduled feeding, but it really turns into like a grazing sort of thing. And so dogs just kind of come and go, and those types of dogs will just eat a little bit and then walk away. So a scheduled feeding, which will actually help, is figure out a schedule, 2 meals a day, whatever. Give them their food for just a few minutes, call it 10 minutes. Food is down, and then it is removed after the 10 minutes. Usually it takes them a few days to figure out this new system. But what ends up happening is they start realizing, oh, my food is here at this time. Let me go ahead and eat it. It's similar to what we do. I mean, granted, I do snack from time to time. It's very similar. We eat meals, we could have them do it as well. So scheduled feedings, but the important thing is picking it up after. So that's one. And going off of the same thing, one thing I wanted to say too is dogs, a lot of times humans will start to add toppers to the food to get them to be more motivated. Or another thing they'll try to do is start switching up the food over and over and over again, which, I don't think variety's a bad thing per se, but if it's just this hope that, I'll find a certain type of food that my dog will just love forever, I don't think anybody's ever, I'm sure someone's been successful with it, but I haven't seen many people be super successful with that. So just, if you want to give them some variety, great. But in general, it's going to be, scheduled feedings are very, very helpful. Another thing, and this, my next two things are, might seem a little counterintuitive, but work to eat toys are great. Animals really do like working for food, and giving them toys where their food is then placed into, it seems like dogs will actually eat it then. It's kind of cool how it works out, but there are different types of toys out there. Some that will pay very easily, meaning when we flop this over once and a bunch falls out. And then the other side of that is some will pay very not very generously. So they'll have to work it a ton before it comes out. And so if you're going to go with a work to eat toy, one of my favorites is an Orbeez Snoop. It pays pretty easily, but then work your way up. Again, it seems kind of weird. Like, well, if I'm having trouble getting my dog to respond for food with training, or have you word that, well, why would they work for it from a toy? And it just happens that way. It's working becomes reinforced, and then they do it more and more. Which goes to the next point too, which is I think it was Kathy Sadeo who coined the "nothing in life is free," which is basically a way of saying, hey, from here on out, any food that you consume, I'm going to have you do behaviors for it. I'm going to carry your meals in my treat bag or in my pocket, and I'm going to have you sit a few times, then you get some of your meal. I'm going to have you lie down a few times, then you get some of your meal. And so the overall idea is they just, anything that they get to collect, they have to work for. And I could see how maybe as like somebody that this is new to would say, well, like it seems kind of cruel to make my dog work for everything. And all I would say is that it's not about being like some sort of militant leader. It's really just about getting them to do a behavior, getting their food. And then it's kind of cool. The result is in the future, they want to do it more and more and more because of the reinforcement behind it. So it's really not a cruel thing. You just end up with a dog that becomes more drivey, and then they are just more motivated to eat their food when it's available. And they're also more motivated to work for food when it's available. So nothing in life is free. If you have a dog that, we also call it like closing the economy. If you have a dog that is really hard to motivate, stop giving them food in a bowl, have it all in your pocket, and then again ask for behaviors, reward those behaviors. That is not something that you need to do for the rest of their lives, but it's a great starting point. Helps a ton. Another thing that I've found is that let's look at the big picture. We love our dogs. We want to give our dogs things, which that's great. That's why we have them. But a lot of people end up giving their dogs high value food items for free, which in some cases it doesn't matter. But again, if you have a very hard dog to motivate, then you need to save the best stuff for when you actually need it. So, big picture would be like meats and cheeses. That's like just generalizing it. But most dogs love those things. Some of y'all that are watching this may have never tried that sort of stuff. So as soon as you do try that, it's going to be like, boom, all of a sudden my dog is super easy to motivate. And then others have tried that. And then as I was starting to say too, some give that stuff for free daily. Like some dogs get, get eggs on their breakfast every morning as a topper. Some get cream cheese, or maybe not cream cheese, yogurt, whatever. And so they're just used to getting awesome stuff all the time. So it's not worth working for when you get it all the time. So save it for when you need it. And one last thing in regards to all this, if you are working with your dog and you're trying to get them to respond to stuff, it's very easy to get stuck in this rut where like, okay, I finally have found a food that my dog will work for. Let me go ahead and get it out and show it to him. You see it, great. Now let me get you to do the behaviors. What does that do? Well, what that does in the long run is we have a dog that will just kind of not respond to anything unless food is auditioned first. And not only that, the food that is being auditioned has to be top-notch stuff. And it all makes sense behaviorally. If you're going to show me 6 different things and I don't want any of those things, I'm not going to do anything you ask. But if you were to, we were in this rhythm where you ask me to do something, I do it, and then you pull out something that I really enjoy and reward me for it, I'm more likely to do that thing in the future without you having to show me that thing. So try to get out of that rut. And for some of y'all that are watching this, you may have taken classes with us or be private clients. Hey there, D. What ends up happening is we do teach a lot of behaviors with food lures, and a food lure is a visible piece of food that you take out, get the dog to follow it, get the behaviors to happen. But as quickly as possible, we turn that into a hand signal, and a hand signal is, like this could be a sit hand signal, this could be a down hand signal. But the overall thing is, okay, when you see this hand signal, the food reward is going to be produced second, and we get our dogs to start responding more to signals and cues and all that without having to see the food first. So let's recap real quick. If you have a dog that's hard to motivate, try to get on some sort of scheduled feedings where you're leaving the food down for 5 to 10 minutes per meal. For the first few days, dogs generally don't touch the breakfast. They're like, hey, whatever, it'll be there tomorrow, or it'll be here the rest of the day. They find out that it's not, so then they eat their dinner. But scheduled feedings, 5 to 10 minutes. Again, this is just to help increase motivation. If your dog has any sort of medical needs, you might not be able to follow that rule. Second thing is work to eat toys are great. The Orby Snoop is one that I recommended. And it's basically, it's cool how it works out. You give them their food, put it in something that they have to working becomes reinforcing and all that sort of stuff. So you'd be surprised how it works. The other thing is basically kind of closing the economy. They don't get food anymore unless they're working for it. And they will have a lot of fun with that. It's cool how that works too. How often can you put dog food down and the dog doesn't touch it, but then you grab some and hand it to them, and they're like, you know what, I will eat that from your hand. Because taking things from your hand is generally conditioned. They find that anything that you have is probably pretty good, so they're more likely to eat it. So we can work with that system that we got going on there. Number 4 was save the high value food for when you need it. So don't use it as toppers. Don't use it just, okay, I'm done with my dinner, here's a piece for you. And I'm not trying to, be any sort of, like I said, militant leader with this sort of stuff. It's just basically, if we are trying to motivate our dogs, we got to save the high value stuff for when we need it. And then the last thing I mentioned was, in terms of training, find something that they'll work for. And if you're going to go with the food lure method, that's fine, but quickly turn it into a hand signal. So therefore, what ends up happening is they're not used to seeing the food first, because if food is always auditioned first, they're going to make a choice whether or not they want to work for it, depending on how motivating it is. And again, you're always going to have the top-notch stuff for that. All right, that was it. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll get this up on the page so that way you can watch it as a recording as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. See y'all later. Bye.